So today we are going to learn few terminology that will be used in the F5 LTM. So first one is node. So node is the backend server, and so in our case server 1, server 2 and server 3 are our backend server, and the server with their IP only, that is called node. Now second is pool member. What is pool member? So the backend server with the service running on it. Suppose we have a web service running on FOFO 3, then the IP with the service, that is the pool member. So in this case we have this 3 pool member. Next is what is pool. So this pool member constitutes a pool, and that is configured on the F5 device. So next is self IP. So self IP is the IP on the interface of the F5 device. Suppose 1.2 is our internal interface, then 10.120.241 that is assigned on this interface, that is self IP. Similarly, for the external interface, 10.110.241 on the interface 1.1, that will be the self IP. Now, what is this floating IP? So, suppose we have F5 device in the HA, then there will be the interface IP that is called self IP, and there will be the one additional IP called floating IP, and that floating IP renders between this device in HA, and so that will cause the zero downtime during the failover. Now next term is what is virtual server. So virtual server is the IP on which the external user tries to connect to that IP. Suppose in this case, suppose we have IP configured 10.1.2 as a virtual IP. Then when the user send the request on that IP, then that will be forwarded to the one of the backend pool member according to the load balancing algorithm used on this F5 device. Now, what is health monitor? And F5 device use health monitor to monitor the state of the device. If the device is offline, or the required service that should run on the server is not running, that is checked using the health monitor. And there are different types of health monitor mechanism, that may be TCP half open, or HTTPS full, or SQL query custom. Now I will show the next diagram, and I will try to demonstrate how packet flow from the user to the in server. So suppose there is the user on using this PC, and he tries to open the one service, like one URL. We have abc.com that runs on this backend server. So the first the DNS query will go to the DNS server, and DNS server will resolve the domain to the IP. And suppose this 202.45.149.14 is the IP. Then what happens is, on the request packet, suppose the source of this PC is 192.93.91.15, and the suppose this abc.com have IP 202.45.145.14 running on FOFO 3. Then this PC, for this PC, request packet will be this one, and the source port will be the random, and destination port will be obviously FOFO 3, and it will hit to the virtual IP configured on the F5 device. Now, according to the load balancing algorithm used on the F5 device, this F5 device will transfer this request to the one of the servers. So suppose in our case, for this request, uh, uh, it will send the request to the server 3. Suppose then source will be obviously 182.93.115 and the port will be 2059. This and the destination will be 10.120.13. Yeah, okay. This is the request packet. Now the servers now this server 3 will respond, and the response packet will be source 10.120.13 with port 443, and destination IP will be this one. So basically this PC. Now this response packet will come to the F5 device, and here the response packet will be like this one. So 22, 145, 149.14 with port 443, and the destination will be this PC IP, and the PC will accept this request. Now this is the case when we have the default gateway of the server configured in F5 device. Now in most of the case the organization have already the router or firewall, and the server gateway will be this router or firewall, and now we are installing this F5 box. So in this case the service from the PC will go to the F5 device, and it will be transferred to the one of the server, but for this server the default gateway will be this router. So the request will be sent to the router, and then the router will send to this PC. So in this case for the request traffic there is one path, and for the response traffic there is another path. So in this case this PC will drop the traffic. Now we have two solutions to resolve the issue. First is we can change the server default gateway to this F5 IP that is configured on this interface. Next is we can configure a SNAT on the F5 device, so that for the incoming request traffic the server will always see the request from this IP configured here, and it will always respond to the F5, and then it will transfer to the PC. So there are two methods. One, you just change the gateway of the backend server, or next configure the SNAT on the F5 device. This is the concept. Thanks for watching the video.